Welcome to another episode of D50 After Dark. I'm your host, Mickey Bennett, and if you've been watching our recent episodes, you have seen that we have had interviews with each member of our team, including myself. Today, we have another special episode for you where the whole team has come together to discuss our year in podcasting. You don't want to miss this episode. Welcome to D50 After Dark. Today, we're going to be talking with the whole team, but first, we want to have a word from our sponsors. We have two wonderful sponsors today. The first one is Habitat Commons. Habitat Commons is a beautiful co-working space providing an invigorating work environment to creatives and other professionals. It is conveniently located near Highway 75 in the President George Bush Tollway in Plano, Texas. To learn more, visit habitatcommons.com. We are also brought to you by Moon Vision Productions. Moon Vision Productions is a social media, photography, and video production agency ready to elevate your brand to the moon. Follow them on Instagram at moonvision_productions. Now, let's welcome the team all back to the show. We have myself, Mickey Bennett. We have Tommy Kenyon, our producer. We have Helen Williams, associate producer. Jerry Baskett, also associate producer. So let's get started talking about this past year in making D50 After Dark. Let's start off with, what was the most memorable moment for you in making this show? Who wants to get this started?
As producer, I'd actually say we might have, I could be wrong about this, but we might have the same episode memorable, but at maybe different reasons. So the episode memorable for me was building membership and talking with Aletta Rochat from South Africa over Zoom. And reason why that is, because for me, it took several tries. And when we talk about pivot, we're all Toastmasters and we know how to pivot. And one thing that came up is schedules, people's schedules, or tech not showing up, or maybe a miscommunication on the calendar. Things happen. We pivoted. We did something else. That's when, if you remember going back, we actually shot the first shoot that day was interviewing me on Meet the Team series of the episode. So we found something else to do on our first attempt, and we have many different pivot options, areas, and that's the reason why when we can just learn with Toastmasters and we learn how to be flexible, and that's what I always come back to as a memorable moment.
Yeah, that was a great episode, and we definitely had to pivot a couple times with that. Helen, how about you? What was your most memorable moment?
The same episode was my memorable moment. I enjoyed researching and getting some material together for Mickey to formulate how he was going to approach the questions that he would ask, and to also show Aletta what she might be thinking about, what direction we might be going. Of course, they always have a pre-interview too, which helps the person who's being interviewed with that part. But I remember finding out she has I wish I could remember the name of it, a speech that she gives, something about find your rooster, or and I thought, wow, that is an interesting concept, to find the rooster in you when you speak, and I don't remember the connection, but it was fun. She's an engaging person, and you could tell I looked at all the videos that were online that she had done, and that was the one that stood out to me. And I looked at her background, all very interesting, and I presented it all to Mickey so he had an idea how to pursue the interview. It was one of the more fun preparations that I did.
Yeah, she definitely has a great story behind her in all of her years of Toastmasters. How about you, Jerry? Any memorable moments for you?
See, I have a different take on the whole memorable moments. I'm a behind the scenes type person, and I really will go back to the meet the team and learning about the individuals, the how Helen prepares for things, how Tommy does this thing, uh, watching the different interviews, particularly when the tables were turned on you and you were being interviewed. That was a whole different way of looking at the program, just to see how the interviewer gets interviewed doing his own show. Yes, it's a different take. So that's probably my most memorable part of this year and on the D50 After Dark podcast.
Yeah, it definitely has been fun meeting each one of us in an episode, especially having Gaurav come and interview me. That was a lot of fun. For me, I was going to say Aletta Rochat was my most memorable moment. She was a fantastic guest. She's a big deal in the world of Toastmasters. But since Tommy and Helen already mentioned that, I'm going to pivot and say our first episode was pretty memorable for me. Our very first episode, we were having an episode discussing proxy voting in Toastmasters, a pretty dry topic, I guess. But it was our first show, and we had a guest, and we did the show by Zoom. I was in my living room talking on Zoom to our guest, and we really obviously still had a lot to learn in that episode because we took multiple cuts. We went back and discussed this part, and we left out this topic, so let's go back. And we ended up with such a hodgepodge of clips of interview that Tommy had to Frankenstein together. And at the time, I thought that'd be okay. But afterwards, I was like, man, we really got to get it right on the first shoot. And for the most part, ever since then, we've really done a good job at having one shot, one interview, very few, if any, recuts. And we learned a lot, at least I learned a lot from that episode about conducting the interview and warts and all, making it work.
So I can add to that. That was as content creator when you're first starting, that your first is going to be bad, and that's so true for our first. It was bad, and it worked, and it made it work thanks to editing, a lot of editing. But now we're like seasoned pros at the end of season one, and now we're coming all together on a round table. Even me, you can see my habitat in the back where I usually stand. We were standing today. Thank you, Manuel, for jumping in and helping us. But yeah, you go from bad episode to looking like pros.
That's right, which leads perfectly into the next thing that I'd like for us to discuss is what have you learned? We've done a lot of episodes over the past year, been through some ups and downs. Certainly along the way, each of us has learned something, and maybe not. But Tommy, what have you learned over the past year?
One thing that I keep every time I come into the setup or a studio setup, getting ready to set up today, there if something can happen that goes wrong, it will. I've come to learn that, but just learn like now I'm mapping microphones and mapping cameras to where you can say as me the button pusher back there, Mickey's on mic 1, 2, 3. Keep them all in order. Camera 1, same. Camera 1, 2, and 3. Keep them all the same in the same order that they are. So that mapping the cameras and the microphones so that fits the production very sufficient, efficiently, not
Yeah.
sufficient, efficiently.
Yeah. It's one of those things I never would have thought about, how key it is to map out a room, microphones, cameras, make sure that when they speak at the microphone that's assigned to them, that has them looking at the camera that's looking at them. All these things have to be considered. And that's something I've kind of learned by watching you over the year, even though that's not really my particular role in it. How about you, Helen, Jerry? Either of you have something to share for what you've learned?
I mentioned the first episode, and that's when I learned that I don't need to prepare to the extent that I did. I'm a book designer in my background, and I'm rusty, but I approached that whole thing like a book. I had decided what questions were going to be asked in what order, and also what the answers were going to be based on my research. Of course, a lot of it, as Mickey pointed out, was cut and dry. So we needed to get the information across so that we got the clubs out to vote. That was the idea, was to get people out excited about the election and get those proxies out, get the vote out. I actually brought in some stuff, some information from, I think it was it's China or the area somewhere in near China, about a club that a director that was concerned because the clubs weren't voting, and that sort of thing just fell on the cutting room floor. But it was interesting to me that he was so worried about the fact that the whole district didn't vote for the most part, and I actually have done research on the different districts and seen that they don't vote. So this was part of the objective of our podcast, but I covered so much more. I literally had 10 pages of notes with questions and answers and a conclusion and the links. It was like I had written the whole thing and nobody had said a word.
So you telling me, would you be into creating like an episode and developing characters of a TV show? I'm joking, kind of, but it could be a serious question.
No, I learned my lesson on that one. I'm much more simple.
Yeah, well, I remember that document, and that was also a bit of a learning experience for me because coming into recording, I'd never done a podcast before, or TV or anything like that, and it didn't occur to me that I would have that kind of support of someone thinking about all these things and researching answers and providing it all in an organized manner beforehand. So when I saw that document, I was like, what is this? this is our script, or what is it? And so that was like, wow, I'm not in this alone. I've got a lot of smart people supporting me on this show. And since then it's kind of evolved in how we do that, but it's still an important part of the preparation for the show to see your research in our topics.
I think the process should be, as you've said before, organic, and the interview should flow that way, so that the interviewee is helping guide and detouring if necessary. But the questions that I put into the script that I wrote help you come back to the goal or the direction you want to go in if you do take a side trip.
Yeah. Yep. How about you, Jerry? Anything that you've learned?
I'm going to be, again, the contrarian here. I like preparation. And I think one of the biggest things that I got out of working as part of the production team is seeing the amount of detail, the amount of research that goes in up front. In deference to what Helen was saying, it's always good to have a lot more material than you actually will need, because you never know which way an interview would go. And if you have that information available, you can always, on the fly, swing over and touch on maybe a little bit different subject than what you were previously talking about. So again, preparation, to me, the detail of the preparation is what I think is most important about putting together a show, because you don't want to have blank space or dead air.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have all your preparation in line, you won't have those dead airs. You'll have information just in case. Say if you had a interviewee that gives you one-word answers, well, now you have enough material to maybe bring him out of that single word answer and maybe promote him, hit on something that was done in research that you saw that maybe will just open him completely up? So to me, it's preparation, preparation, preparation.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you never see when you watch a television show, when you watch a podcast or a movie, you don't see the preparation. You see the finished product. So going into it, you think just get up there and start talking and recording and that's that. But learning about the preparation to make a show and to make a good show has definitely been a learning experience for sure. For me, one thing that I would say that I've learned is a little more. Well, I won't say that. What I'll say is I've learned a little bit of confidence in this show. Not to say that I wasn't confident before doing the show, but I would watch a podcaster and see them and think, I'd like to do that, but could I do that? I don't know. It's maybe harder than it looks. Would I sound boring or too monotone, or how would I do if I were to be a podcaster? And then doing the podcast, there's been some bumps along the road, but I think I've found that, hey, actually I can do this. I'm doing a pretty good job, I would think. And, Toastmasters works. All the years, and I think I said this in my interview with Gaurav, all the years doing table topics and other things in Toastmasters has worked, and it's made me able to talk to people, ask questions, answer questions, keep things flowing, eliminate the dead air, and all of that. It's all a product of having done Toastmasters for so many years, and now I can sit easy in having learned this lesson that yes, I am prepared. I have developed the skills. I can do this.
So I'm hoping my timing is gonna to where the fifth member of our teams had stepped out for a minute as we're recording or getting some because we have a prior or a thing right after this shooting. But I want to challenge you, Mickey, and going into our second season. And I know we after the shoots we did like a little took our phones out and recorded you in a promo episode. One thing I just listened to this week, and I just did in our Toastmasters meeting, talked about storytelling, and I'm trying to incorporate storytelling and whatever I do, workshops, podcasting, and one thing, if you see all the professional TV people out there on TV on the screen, what do you notice? They're talking 30 seconds, 60-second sound bites. Talk and have answers first initially, and then have follow-ups that for more detail. But questions that we can help to maybe get a 30-second sound bite so we can use that as a promo. And it's like we did the opening intro right now. That's a good promo as itself, and that's shooting more efficiently. Then we don't have to go to our phone later on, where we have all our promo shot all in the episode shot already, and we cut and clip different clips. So get 30 to 60 second sound bites, and then find something you're interested in and then ask a follow-up how that made you feel or something like that.
Okay. So you want me to work on getting our guests to have 30-second clippable answers to questions. Okay. All right. I can do that.
I kind of like when it doesn't include the whole answer. In other words, it leaves you hanging. I like that.
Because that's a
It's like,
good thing.
well, I
Like,
want to hear the rest of that.
oh, they talked about this. That's something that gets their
The hook.
attention.
Yeah.
That's the hook. Now you're going to give the rest of the detail in the episode. For the full answer, you want to tune into the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I'll have to think about that, and maybe Helen can help me research. But I think the way to do that is to first ask a more closed-ended question
Mhm.
that has the potential of having a really good answer, and then follow it up with a more open-ended question that will allow them to give a longer answer. Well, I'll work on that. It's good. It's a good challenge. All right. Well, one more question before we wrap up this really fun episode is, what are you most looking forward to in the coming year? Because we're just getting started. We have so much in store. We're going to have a second year that's even better than the first. Tommy, what are you most looking forward to in this coming year?
We have champions, past district directors. The game has changed. 50 episode season. Get ready for that. That's just going to be grueling on us. We have to change our schedules, shooting a lot, so much to look forward to.
Very cool. How about you, Helen?
I don't know why this sounds off the wall, but there's something that we've always wanted to do in my Allen Toastmasters Club, and that's to have a backwards meeting. I didn't know whether we could just throw it out there. We certainly couldn't do a whole meeting, but some kind of teaser to get people interested in doing. I think it just a wonderful concept, and probably only work when you have enough seasoned members. But it would be fun, and we've talked about doing it in Allen Toastmasters, and we've never done it.
Starting with the end in mind.
Yes, you start with the general evaluation and go back.
It's a good business concept. Start with the end in mind. Research from the end result.
So we
Something that stimulates ideas for meetings.
Yeah, we can maybe do if we can find some Toastmaster who's had experience doing backwards meeting, we can bring them on and interview them about the phenomenon of backwards meetings and Toastmasters. My club did that once a long time ago. It was a blast. How about you, Jerry? What are you looking forward to?
I haven't really thought too much about it, other than the fact that for me, I like again the aspect behind the scenes of all the preparation that goes into this setup. Actually have a meeting on the setup. You can think about that. You know, we come in here and the room is completely vacant, if you will.
Mhm.
We set up cameras, we set up mics, we set up the switcher. Do something like that. Give it a behind the scenes. I once saw, and this was several years ago, ESPN had a behind the scenes in which they shot a football game from the control room's point of view.
Hmm.
Let's do a podcast from the control rooms, from Tommy's point of view. Have the camera over his shoulder as you're conducting the interview. He's watching and making the switches for the different camera shots.
Yeah,
Possible behind the scenes.
I like it. Tommy's been talking for a while about doing some behind the scenes kind of episode. And today we have my brother-in-law Manuel is in the back helping with the technology. If he continues to help with the podcast, having him and Tommy both here would make it much easier to be able to do the kind of behind the scenes setup and production episode that Tommy's been wanting to do.
I can totally set up a webcam where set that up first, and then we can set everything up while everything's running. I can totally do that.
Yep. For me,
Maybe run a cell phone or two as well.
Yeah.
I know we got to wrap up.
Yeah, and so for me, what I'm looking forward to most, I just heard from Tommy earlier today that we're going to shoot for increasing by an order of magnitude the quantity of episodes that we're doing every week over the next year. That's pretty exciting, and for a lot of reasons. One of them is we're probably going to have to interview more people, meet more people, and I really like the idea of just meeting all the interesting people in District 50, interviewing them, putting them on camera, and just really getting a sense for our audience of who the leaders are in our Toastmasters community. So that is a pretty exciting proposition for me.
Put another call out for people who want different posts. I know that's how you took the
One thing I was working with our incoming club growth to, how we do demo meetings, to have like a virtual club showing, and we can take videos from that they shoot, or we could go and shoot a portion of their club meeting or all of it, or something that they want to showcase of their club, and it would be living on our podcast, and a link to their episode that they shoot will go on their website, and it will give us traffic in return too.
Yeah. So Tommy and Helen, you do a lot of the scheduling, maybe all three of you, you guys do a lot of the scheduling for our guests. If somebody wants to be on the show, who would they contact and how?
We have an email out there, D50 After Dark at D50TM.org.
D50 After Dark, all one word, D50 After Dark at D50TM.org?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So send your emails there if you want to appear on the show. And we have a
Or anything involved in the show, too.
Absolutely.
Appear,
Maybe you want to be a sponsor. Maybe you want to be on the show. Maybe you want to get involved and help produce the show. Whatever it is, reach out to us and we'd love to get you involved. The bigger the team, the bigger, the more things that are possible to accomplish. And we have a call to action today to wrap up with. Tommy, did you want to give the call to action?
Say if you're listening to us on the Spotify where there's video available, you can listen to our episode. Thank you for listening, by the way. And at the end, at the bottom of the podcast, you'll see Q&A, a chance to leave a comment. You can leave a comment what you like about this episode or any other previous episode, or leave a comment as to what you want to see from us there too. So you can email us or leave a comment on Spotify, either one.
Yeah. Like, share, subscribe to the channel, and leave comments for us. Let us know what you like and what you'd like to see added to the show. This has been a lot of fun for me, and it's always great to get the team together on camera. So thank you very much, Jerry, Helen, Tommy, and Manuel in the back there. Thank you, everybody. This has been another episode of D50 After Dark, and we will see you guys next time in the next Toastmaster year.